Yes. Quinn Kush. Baby, baby. Hey, remember that time that we opened up an epic touch portal in Sydney?
Holy moly, honestly, I'm still just like buzzing so hard because if anything is going to explain what a true portal is, it is actually this experience.
Yes, so next level, like queerness, magic, like down-regulated nervous systems, expansion possibilities, people like being nervous, but then leaning in and finding beauty and softness.
I think, to be honest, that was actually my most favorite takeaway of the experience was just like people being like, oh God, what am I doing to myself? Why would I do this? I really want this, but it's so scary. And then them leaving just like they've just been made like loved up so hard, like they've just been pleasured all night long in ways that they wouldn't have even imagined or known that they
Yeah,
could receive.
yeah.
And then walking away with all of this new medicine, all of this new understanding of self. And honestly, the breakthroughs just makes me feel emotional.
It was so emotional, and I could feel that, like, the amount of conversations that we had brewing the intention and feeling like, okay, what does the queer community really need? What's missing in high intensity, like queer sex parties? And I just felt like in our conversation, we were so specific with how we're going to create this space to then actually be in it and be looking around and to feel that, oh, we created this reality that hasn't existed in this way before. It's something totally new. But now that we've like given birth to it, it's here, it's in existence. Like, we need to do this everywhere and all the time.
Oh, don't worry. I've been getting lots of messages about when are you coming back to Sydney? Oh my God. Like, please don't move there. Okay. Well, sorry, because we're about to pop off in Nam and it's very exciting.
Yep.
And also about to, if you're lucky, release a date for the Sydney portal. Yeah, and in a way that is going to feel a little bit more different, but actually be more digestible and helpful to, yeah, the greater good of
Mm,
the tenderness.
yum. What do you feel like your biggest takeaway was from the Sydney portal?
The biggest takeaway was, well, definitely trust for myself. It was a really
Mm,
experimental thing to do. Like you said, it was something that probably hasn't been done before. This incredible curation of ceremony and magic and trust and vulnerability and performance and workshop. It was this real hybrid. And so really throwing
mm,
ourselves in the deep end of trust, which was the biggest takeaway for me. But it also really feels like it was probably a huge landing for a lot of people as well, because
mm,
they had to sit on the edge of their seats to lean into something that was visceral inside of their body, that they do
mm.
deeply desire this closeness and this expansion within self in terms of intimacy and pleasure, and just taking the risk. And so many people just, it gave them more than they could have imagined. So I would say just like trust is the biggest thing. What about you?
Well, it's interesting just like hearing what you're saying. I'm imagining being someone who wasn't there and hearing your words and just thinking, what would I imagine it looked like based on what you're saying? And I just really also want people to know that like it's it has nothing to do with sex. It really has nothing to do with sex. And for me, like my biggest takeaway was going upstairs into the upstairs area and seeing the life drawing happening and seeing this beautiful naked body laying there in a completely unsexual way. And then on this couch, about, six or seven people with their drawing pads, and then observing the artwork. And also, the artwork was fucking amazing, but the level of presence that everyone had and the softness of the nervous system and just like with like the ambient music in the background and people exploring non-sexual ways of touching each other over there, and then the human fruit platter over there, and it's like, yes, there was nudity, yes, there was some touch, but nothing was sexual. It was actually all in the frequency of honor and beauty, which seems like such an ancient practice, and also no shame, and no objective. It's like no one was actually holding the frequency of, I'm going to fuck someone tonight. I'm looking for someone to hit on. It was just like so safe.
So safe, so down-regulating, so
Yeah.
much choose your own adventure. So much choose your own adventure. And, like I do feel like at a lot of the kind of more sex parties and things like that, people do really hold the deep desire of like, maybe I'm going to kiss someone tonight, maybe I'm going to get some tonight. And, some of that could just be really surface of like, yeah, I want to have that. But also at the end of the day,
Mm,
people are actually really desiring connection, and presence so much that we are disconnected from, when everything just takes our attention, and to not have phones on the night, and to give people the permission that's, exactly nothing. There was no objective, but just to be in
mm-hmm,
awe, and that they had a space that had perimeters around it and got told exactly what to do, but also had the option to just not need to do anything at all, was um, such a potent mathematical equation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed being in the observer that night and witnessing people giving each other loving touch. I saw some people that came as a couple and they were able to access their couple intimacy, but in massage giving. And I also saw people that came solo and made friends during the connective workshop that I facilitated. And then later on being like, hey, can I massage your back? Can I massage your hand? And like that was it, and that was so next level. And to actually just sit back and witness people massaging each other, I was like, this is what it's all about.
This is it. Exactly. It's like taking that pressure away and leaving it as explorative, as and making research, having research for yourself, and just exploring what touch you actually like. You know,
Mm,
so often we feel unhappy in the bedroom or in our intimacy, but at the end of the day, it's because we actually don't even know what we like, so we can't even direct that person or ourselves. So yeah, it was beautiful to see just couples being able to have the space to be in devotion to each other. And it was absolutely magnificent to see those people who rocked up solo, had the courage to do that. And if anything, it is a really conducive space to being by yourself, because you can choose your own adventure. And it is a really good way to actually just practice talking to people,
mm.
practice your confidence, and practice sharing touch with one another, because each person is just as nervous as one another. So if anything, this space is actually the perfect space to be by yourself and to explore.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, what would you want to say to people looking at the NAM event who are not in partnership or maybe don't have any other friends that would be interested? Like, is it okay for them to come to this experience by themselves?
Of course, like honestly, it is such a good space for you to explore by yourself. There are so many different parts of this experience that will hold you. That's also the reason why we have the pleasure pillars and so many other supportive people in the space, because there are different
Mm,
sections in which you can roam around and be in. So the pleasure pillars are there to be holding a portal within a portal, um, so that you can kind of wander over, see if you feel, do I feel like being in this? Do I feel like drawing? Do I feel like taking my clothes off? Or do I feel like just, going and having some self massage and laying and watching the projections, or laying and eating some fruit, or writing or journaling. It's really, the space is curated so that there are lots of options for you. And also
mm,
there's so many parts where you actually get to meet people. It's like we're just handing new friends, and new experiences in the palm of your hand. So I would say hell yes to solo people. Honestly, bonus points, because not only is it nerve-wracking to come to these types of, innately kind of sexual, scary experiences, but to come by yourself is just it's a huge win. So I would say hell yes.
mm.
Welcome.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And like what an opportunity for expansion. Like when I look at all the different times in my life where I've taken that leap of faith and like just embraced my nerves and gone into something new by myself, like the sense of like accomplishment and pride and those spaces that kind of force you to find your own confidence, like that is character building experiences. And it's like without a doubt, everyone coming to Tender Core will have some level of nervousness and like nervousness, anticipation, excitement, and like that moment before you expand into something greater. Like they all feel the same somatically. And so, also, my advice for anyone coming alone is to just like embrace that, or for anyone coming, just like embrace it. And I felt like, the beginning of the night, like being the MC, like in Sydney, and just like feeling everyone's nervous system. It's like we actually all just felt the same. We were kind of like excited children, like, oh, what's going to happen? And like, that's a beautiful thing to embrace. And then we went on this journey together of like, getting everyone up and shaking it off, and then, receiving your transmission. And it's actually all a part of creating the community and kinship, is that we all arrive like in our nervousness, and then we all deepen and transcend into like truth.
Yes, exactly. It was so powerful creating a space that transmuted so much shame and that held such little judgment. And we spoke about this on the night, but yes, it's nerve-wracking, and the excitement is on the same sort of part of the coin. But once we do things like this, it just makes it easier the next time, and not seeing these types of
Mm.
as these big, scary, all-encompassing shadows that live within our psyche, but also just seeing them as these little things, one step in front of the other, to help to melt more into and tame this big scary thing into an ally.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we've had some people ask like what to wear, what to bring. Obviously, we see like kink sex parties and everyone's wearing, like latex, buying all this like sexy hot stuff. Is that a requirement for Tendercore? What do you bring? What do you wear?
Amazing. Love it. It's definitely not a requirement. If you want to wear it and that's what makes you feel sexy, then hell yeah, go for it. But really, we're creating a new culture in terms of what sex parties sort of are. If anything, this feels more like an intimacy experience. And to really fully be in the absorption of pleasure, you need to feel comfortable. It's just like
Mm,
if you're laying down and you're receiving a massage and you need to pee really badly, you're not really going to be able to be taking in that experience. So the same goes for your comfort levels. I know that I feel the sexiest when I'm just like repping my style. I'm repping this shirt and my hat, and it's not like it doesn't come into the framework of maybe the leather and the chains and all the stuff. This makes me feel sexy and comfortable. So it's actually really up to you. I would say, if anything, bring like a few things. We will have heaters on
mm,
the space, so the space will end up getting warm, especially because of all the bodies. But you can bring some sexy lingerie, but then dress with your clothing on top, because we are also going to have different sections to the evening. You're going to be taken on this kind of guided journey where you might actually want to feel into different parts of yourself and different parts of your expression as the night sort of
mm,
unveils. So people at the Sydney party there was like lots of velvet, people were wearing robes, people were just, like you just wore a sexy black shirt that was open, with jeans, with your Calvins out. Like it's just, I wore a two-piece matching tracksuit. It's actually just up to you. But what I would say is,
mm.
like, it's also an opportunity for you to step into wearing something that's you might want to edge further into in terms of your expression. Maybe you
Yes.
want to step more into your authenticity, or you want to start to wear more of this color, but you've only been pigeonholed into this one. Or perhaps you've been dressing more in your tomboy and you want to be like, oh, maybe I'll wear like a fucking skirt, or maybe the other way around. Like it's really up to you. But if anything, it's an opportunity for you to claim more of your authenticity.
Mm. Fully. And I was thinking as well, like for any gender diverse people coming that it is an opportunity to also play with your gender expression. Like for me, I had my chest taped, and that's what made me feel comfortable to be able to wear an open shirt. And I love that. It was also so dope to see other female bodied people also with their chests taped. It's like not very often that I actually get to see that in other people. So there was this kinship there. But also, yeah, if you're a gender diverse person and you want to pack, or yeah, like you can also just play with it. It might be your time to trial something out. But yeah, as you said, bringing those change of clothes. Yeah, at one point I like put my shirt on because that's what I felt like, and then I took it off again. And yeah, prioritizing that comfort. But yeah, if you want to bring something to potentially meet an edge or to be like witnessed in some new sexy lingerie or something, then definitely go for it. And yeah, I saw someone had like a fluffy dressing gown. I was like, slay. Like, yes, like bring whatever. Yeah, blankets, comfortable thing. I think you were also saying it would be good for people to bring journals as well.
Yeah, so also when you are edging into kind of new territory, it's good to bring things that make you feel comfortable and that can help you regulate. I know for me, um, bringing snacks or having snacks close to me
Mm,
is a good idea whenever I'm kind of taking in a lot of information or when I'm, stepping out of my zone. I have my bring my bag of different things that are going to help me to ground and regulate and things like that. So I would say definitely bringing snacks is a good idea. As
mm,
well as like something non-alcoholic, like a bottle of kombucha or a soft drink or something like that, just so that you can yeah, satiate in that way. And yeah, like you said, a
mm,
journal is a really good idea because there will be, lots of different places for you to partake in, but also just lots of downloads and lots of realizations and lots of ideas or breakthroughs that you might just want to like write down, or you might just want to be with yourself.
mm.
And it might be that you've done all the touching or the listening or the witnessing, and you just want to start to integrate and draw some amazing art piece out of the experience. So I would say definitely those things are, yeah, really important.
Love that. And I just want to speak to what you just mentioned there with non-alcoholic beverages. And to have a space like this without the consumption of alcohol felt really important to us, because what we observed at some other intimacy style parties, that people were waiting for the alcohol or drugs to kick in because that meant they were a bit more out of their bodies, or kind of overriding that nervousness and getting that liquid confidence. Whereas we really wanted to create a space where instead of that overriding, is that especially through the connective workshop that I run and people witnessing your transmission, is that it actually gives people permission to drop into their bodies, drop into their embodied consent, and let that be the place of decision and the place of connection instead of override. Cool. So, yeah, we really prioritize supporting people to actually get in their bodies through the experience, so that when we do get into that free time and that playtime, that in each moment people have the tools to ask their bodies where they want to go, how they want to be touched, instead of waiting for the alcohol to kick in, waiting for any other substance to kick in to get them to a place where they feel more confident. Yeah, would you like to speak a bit more to that as well?
Yeah. I honestly, I think people actually desire this space more than they realize. And I feel like a lot of people have
Mm,
been asking for these types of spaces because we are realizing more and more how much, yeah, booze and different things are kind of disassociating us and clouding us and
mm,
not allowing us to have the types of connections that we do want to have. I think it's okay to note that it is okay to have, like one drink maybe before you come to the portal if you want to. I think that's okay because It is nerve-wracking, and if that is something that you do need to do, then go for it. I don't want us to be shaming people around what they're choosing to do. Just noticing that, we can actually go to those, instead of having the alcohol as the connection, we can actually just be each other's connection. We can be each other's. I know for me, I used to drink heavily. I'm like now kind of 16 months sober, and like a long time I used alcohol actually to co-regulate myself. Like it was my codependency, it was
Mm,
my regulation, it was my soothing to whenever I felt uncomfortable in spaces. I would use it to yeah, to deal with my social anxiety. And so I know that that is there. We know that it is difficult to be in these spaces, and that that can be something that can help you. But this is also a new opportunity, like you said, to be able to tap into your inner knowing and your inner wisdom, and actually not need to rely on something else to give you the courage, and to actually embrace, you're in a rock star, and embrace the courage that you have within, that is just literally waiting for you to connect with it. And
mm.
what I also love more than anything is your ability to MC in the space, and your depth in connecting everyone into connecting with their ancestors, and connecting with that kind of support that they have. Oh, something is, of course, really loud outside whilst we're doing this. Uh, and so, in that time where you would usually connect with sort of this ally, this ally of drugs or alcohol that is so embedded into our culture. What I feel you really bring to the space is for people to really
Mm.
tap into their own inner allies and their own inner resources, and tap deeper into the frequency of intuition and allies, because
Mm.
actually were the original, and are still the original, ways in which we can channel deeper into our wisdom. So, if anything, no booze, and realize how many other resources that you have within you.
Yes. And like touch, presence, and being in the subtle realms is so fucking psychedelic. And that in itself is an altered state of consciousness. And I won't give too much away, but in the connective workshop that I facilitate, there are some exercises, and I had some feedback from people that was like, that was really fucking magic. Like, I felt like powerful magic coming through. And what that sensation is adjusting to the subtle realms, adjusting to each other's electromagnetic fields, turning on that sensitivity and attuning, just like you tune a radio and connect to a different frequency through this connective workshop, which is also fun and wild and really honest, is also giving everyone permission. Not everyone can go there, but if you're willing to go there, to tap into that subtle realm frequency where you become aware of your own electromagnetism and the electromagnetism of the person in front of you. And that is such a key to step into altered state of consciousness, um, which we love. And me and you both, Quinn, we've both body workers. We work really closely with touch, and we both know when we're facilitating that and we're touching someone else's body, the altered state that you get from plugging in, and especially in that state, we have to be completely tuned in with every single part of that person's body and heart. Even though in that dialogue we're communicating with that person, but we also have to be aware to how the body is communicating to us, so that we can offer that person the most tender, loving, genuine experience possible. And because we both understand that, our greatest intention for Tendercore is that we give other people the capacity to tap into that frequency. So when I facilitate that connective workshop, we're giving people a taste. And when you do your live transmission, people get to see it. They get to see it in front of them, and then they get to experience it within themselves. And then in their free time, playtime, they get to actually embody that. And that's what I saw. When I saw people massaging each other, I was like, it literally feels like everyone here is a certified body worker who just like knows how to get it done. And that in itself is psychedelic as fuck. And I think, you know, sometimes including drugs and alcohol actually removes your ability to tap into those subtle realms. So trust us when we say that you have the capacity to get high in a really clean way that you've never been before. And that type of high can honestly at times be very much better than through substances.
It can be because you're feeding off your own life force. And I think what's
Yeah.
also really powerful about what we do and what you're explaining is actually bringing in all the different types of bodies. So not just the physical body, but the astral body, the mental body, the emotional body, creating safety, finding all these little subtleties and actually realizing that it isn't just the touch, it's about how we touch, our intention of how we touch. What is the frequency of that? How safe do we feel? How safe do they feel? And so really opening up, continuing to open up these new dimensions of what is possible.
Mm,
And I feel like every single person that was in the portal got to feel another level um, within their potential open up, which was absolutely just nothing short of profound, to be honest.
mm, yum. And yeah, I also really want people to know that the experience is what you make out of it. And it's like, as facilitators, we're here holding this framework, holding this frequency. But at the end of the day, it's up to every person coming into the space and making out of the experience what they would like to take out of it. But what would you suggest for people on like how to prepare? Because obviously everyone would desire to be able to come into the space and be as open and ready to absorb everything that's there. So how can someone prepare for Tendercore?
Mm. Um, so firstly, I think just being proud of yourself for booking the ticket and for arriving because it takes a lot to step into these types of spaces. It brings up a lot for people. So just celebrating yourself already, that just arriving is enough. It's enough to just arrive and to be wherever you are on your path. It's unique to everyone. And so just arriving is a really strong part of just continuing to cultivate self-compassion because we all know the inner
Mm,
critic a lot, especially in these spaces. In terms of preparing, I think it's also really great to see not just this experience as the 7 till 2 a.m. It's like seeing a lot of the transmission and the medicine of the surroundings of it, what comes up in preparation for you getting there, what happens at the time, and then giving yourself the space to integrate after, giving yourself the space to run yourself a bath or cook yourself a nice meal or just carve out time for yourself after so that you can have that time to land. And as well as that, actually just not putting pressure on yourself that you have to do or find or be anything. So when we take the expectation away, just like when we take away the orientation of like goal, orgasm focused sex, it just means we get to embrace the play and we get to embrace the presence and embrace in the being and the leaning into what's there instead of feeling like, oh no, I should have done this and that. And then we beat ourselves up and we go into this cycle of this expectation that we set for ourselves, which, kind of set us up for more self-criticism. So, this is a space to cultivate lots of kindness in the same way for yourself, in the same way that you would for any other person. So yeah, I think they're kind of my top my top tips for prepping for the portal. What about you?
mm. Yeah, I find that like before any transformative event, the frequency of the event is always working with you. So I'd suggest for people to begin to ask themselves, what is their relationship with touch? What is their relationship with intimacy? And what is their relationship with queerness? Because we might have some people attending who have never been in an all queer space before. They might be at their beginning of their queer journey, and even just the possibility of like being touched by someone that's the same sex as them, for example, might be like, whoa, you know? There might be people who are carrying some traumas around intimacy. And, I think a lot of us are suffering from or have in the past suffered from things in intimacy happening too fast and too soon. Even if that experience wasn't actually traumatic, even just like us collectively not being educated on how to lovingly touch someone or to even ask someone, how would you like to be touched? Like there's a lot there. So at Tendercore, things emotional things may come up for you because it's a transformative experience. So I think that if people can even start journaling before the experience, what is my relationship to touch? How do I feel about my past sexual experiences? How do I feel about my queerness? How do I desire to be touched? How do I desire to touch others? In my workshop, I'll begin to get people to ask that, and everyone will be reflecting on those types of questions with themselves. But if you can, in the days leading up, already begin to ask yourself those questions so you can enter the space being more informed and being a bit more clear on your intention while you're in the space, I think that will really serve you. And then by the time you're there, you're already aware of like potentially emotionally how this experience might be impacting you. But we really want to let everyone know that we're here to emotionally support you within this experience. There are people devoted at Tendercore who are there for emotional support because we can't really separate our emotions from intimacy. And that's again, it being a sober space is that when you're intoxicated, you temporarily override your emotions with how you feel about being touched. And then maybe it'll come back in a couple of days or weeks or even a year and you realize, actually, I didn't want to be touched like that. So our emotions are deeply intertwined with our somatics, with being touched. Some of the most powerful experiences in my one-on-one clients have just been me asking my clients, how does your heart want you to be touched? And even just people receiving that question is huge emotionally. So when we apply that same of care and frequency and we're creating an entire night based on that frequency, it's going to be emotional. So if people can in their preparation begin to get in tune with how they emotionally feel about this, then it's like, okay, and just know that we're here to hold whatever emotions may come up because we get it. We've been through it so many times and we've held so many people going through that exact emotional experience.
Yeah, thank you for all of that. Thank you, thank you. I think it's really important that people do know that it is a space where, you are welcome, all of you is welcome, as you are. And that it is, of course, when we're going into spaces of pleasure and bliss and all these things, that there are going to be blockages that are going to need to be transmuted or shifted or come out in order for some of the yummier feelings to come through and be allowed to come through. And so you are welcome. And you're right. Just knowing that might be there is important. And also just knowing that we have you. We do, it's normal. And yeah, I think intention is a really powerful part of it. Like you said, it's the thought that comes. The thought is the conception before anything can actually actualize into matter. So if you do know why you were doing this, then it is actually going to solidify the outcome of, what you receive from the night.
Mm. And that leads into the next discussion point, which is Tendercore a sex party?
Tendercore is not a sex party. We'll continue like, saying that for the rest of time. Um, it's an intimacy experience, I would say, is how I would explain it. The reason why this works so potently and what we really want to give to you, and you've mentioned this already, we've both mentioned this already, we'll mention it on the night too, is that touch has just become sexualized because of our culture, because of our lack of culture, because of so much repression and lack of education and violation and all the things. It's meant that a lot of us don't actually have healthy connections to touch, so what tendercore is at its foundation, its humanness is around recreating a healthy connection to touch and closeness, and bringing this nurturance that happens in between the sheets. It's this in between, just like you were talking about before, the subtle realms, the in between realms of what actually happens all around this sticky thing of sex. For me, it's about like gracing the hand of another person, as I'm sitting next to them. But also just, understanding and creating a new relationship with platonic touch so that we
Mm,
can use that as a regulation tool. Because for me, if I didn't have platonic intimacy with my friends, I would be crazy. I haven't had an actual partner, a romantic partner in over 7 years. And if I hadn't have resourced touch to my friends, or now have the confidence to just be like, Jamie, give me a breast massage, or hold me, like, can you massage me, or like, let's trade. If I hadn't got to that point, then I would just be a nervous wreck. I would feel deeply lonely. I would feel, I would crave and potentially go into relationships that I didn't even want, just for the closeness, or stay in
mm,
just for the touch aspect, without even really wanting to be there, perhaps. So if anything, tendercore it's a touch party. It's not a sex party. It's a very sex positive. So when we do talk about this platonic touch and things not being sexual, when we leave things to just be platonic, they can end up being really sensual, and sexual if it does happen, but we also make sure that this is like a no penetration party. So definitely not penetrating any genitals, and also making sure that we understand the intent if we are going to even penetrate someone's mouth with like a grape, or if we're stroking their face and we put our finger maybe in their ear, like recognizing that there are also lots of orifices that can potentially be penetrative, including just touching someone really hard and fast. And so we're really taking away this intercourse energy, and stripping things back to the tenderness, and stripping things back to the innate human connection that I know at the end of the day we're all just really craving.
mm. Yeah, 100%. And something that you spoke to in the Sydney portal is how when we're babies, our parents are holding us, stroking us, cuddling us like all the time. It's actually hardwired into the foundation of our somatics, of our nervous system to receive that type of touch. It is actually a biological need. And then now, yes, we've complicated it with sex and with romance, but to create a space where people can literally come and get what they need and have that part of themselves tended to is so far away from sex. And that's what makes it safe to achieve. Because if you're just out in the world or you're at a sex party and someone comes up to you and starts massaging your lower back, you might be like, oh my God, do I want to have sex with this person? Are they going to touch my genitals? Oh my God, am I safe? Am I safe? Blah, 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 blah. Whereas like at Tentacles, someone can be like, hey, like, would you like to receive a massage? And you can be like, yes. And that person can say, and where would you like to be touched? And how would you like to be touched? Um, yeah, okay. Could you massage my lower back in like a mixture of like light touch and firm touch? Okay, yeah, sure. Do you want to come on the massage table? I've got some oil. Okay, cool. And what are your boundaries? Oh, yeah, like don't touch my bum or my genitals, like just stay in the lower back region. Okay, cool, no worries. And it's like we actually, before that free play starts, we teach people how to have that conversation, and you'll actually get to practice having that conversation. So that will happen naturally. And then you can actually receive that touch. Whereas if that touch just kind of accidentally happened at some other type of sex party or just in general, you might be just in your mind, like so worried, like, oh my God, I really don't want them to touch my butt. Like, oh. And so we're actually creating the perfect foundations for you to receive that platonic, loving touch that you fucking deserve. And the other part is that we hope to instill this in you, that you are worthy of receiving loving touch, period. You don't have to look hot. to receive that touch. You don't even have to flirt your way to get that touch. There are no requirements that you have to do except just knowing that you're worthy and be willing to co-create that opportunity for you to receive it. So we're actually taking out all of that drama kind of having to like flirt and be sexy or whatever to get that type of intimacy. Like, stunning.
Yes, honestly, the layers of the healing, the layers of the receiving, and how much worthiness you you gain within yourself just from coming. And at the end of the day, just actually knowing what to do, like receiving the framework, it just takes all of the confusion out of it. And of course, you don't have a framework already because we were never taught any of this. We
Mm,
were never taught any of this. And also, we, a lot of the time, like, we actually don't feel safe in our bodies and we don't even know how unsafe we feel in our bodies. So to be
yeah.
able to be in a space where we get shown how to be, how to regulate, like so much I loved about your like your activities, your touch games, or that you were just helping people regulate the whole time too, you know, putting their hands
Mm-hmm.
up and as they come down, like sighing, and just anytime something became a little bit like, whoa, that was a bit too much, like shake it off, you know, the beauty of the play and the humanness that is injected into and that we have cultivated to make sure that we are holding your hand the whole time is honestly extremely nurturing and very maternal, which swings all the way back to
Mm,
touch as life force and touch as a form of, you know, breastfeeding. Like it's so such a deep biological need, like you said. And so really bringing ourselves back to, yeah, how ancient this energy is and how essential it is and how important, especially as the times get more chaotic and we become more dysregulated. We need to continue to upskill in how to navigate our inner landscape and how to navigate supporting each other, because it's going to become more and more important as the time comes on that we plug into community. And so community that understands how to cater to their needs and resource themselves and resource others are really going to be the people that are going to be able to thrive and support other people in, you know, the chaos that is happening and to come.
mm, so good. Okay, I'm just looking. We probably just have one more question to cover, which is this an event that is for all ages?
Ah, yes, I love it. This is definitely an event for all ages. I feel like, if anything, there are so many events that are catering to the really young kind of baby queers. Lots of events that are out there that are alcohol fueled and for partying and just hooking up, and that's totally great. And less events that are specifically curated for all ages. And that should be kind of clear by now, in the sense that every time you and I are sort of talking about this experience, we are talking about it actually in a very human way. And so because of that, it's actually just age is not really you know, it's not relevant in this experience, because it
Mm,
is just about the fact that you are worthy of touch. You know, you are
mm,
coming to learn to receive. And again, it doesn't need to be that you are attracted to someone. It's just about you connecting with the type of touch that you want to have with someone as well. You know, if somebody is way older than you and you are way younger and you are able to steer the ship in terms of what type of touch you want, maybe it's just something that's going to make you feel a little bit more safe. And it's like, yes, you can just kiss my hand. Thank you. What can I have from you? You know, you can create and curate how far you want to or not far you want to go with someone also. But what we really want to cultivate is just helping people to practice relating with each other and knowing that it is just about co-regulation. It doesn't need to be sexual. And so therefore it is just about all ages. And also I have so many clients that are older, that are mature age queers. And to be honest, I really desire for them to mix in with everyone else that is coming to these types of events also, because we have so much to learn from everyone. You know, lots of the older queers have no idea how things operate now in terms of language and gender and things like that. And lots of the younger queers have no idea what it was like to fight for just the rights of being able to vote, you know. And so I really want to see and feel this cross pollination of of culture that we can share with each other, and of sacredness and of humanity that I feel when I look in all different ages, eyes, and different diversity as well. It's really also about you feeling not just your age, but like sexy in your diverse body, whatever that is, and feeling, like that you have a place always, because your specific DNA, your specific genetics is what makes you you. And these are the
Mm.
types of spaces that help you be able to lean into that being your superpower. So yes, all ages, I'm here for it. Um, and that's that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd also like to talk about gender as well, and people of what gender description, because I feel like with language we've noticed that it can be a bit difficult to like articulate that online, and it's important to also acknowledge that the roots of this frequency is inherently sapphic. I'm someone who, to the best of my ability, really don't like using masculine and feminine as words, because I really like to say, okay, what are we actually talking about? So when we say like femmes or it's a feminine space, it's like that frequency of softness, of tenderness, of connection, and that we find in other queer sex parties that are kind of birthed out of cis gay men sex party culture, that's kind of, hard and fast and high stimulation, that, you know, we're embodying a different frequency. But for people who are curious, like, what type of gendered people is this experience being curated for?
Yeah, thank you. It's been difficult, like you said, in terms of trying to navigate all of the language, because it is really limiting. Um, I think you've already nailed quite a lot of it with what you've said. And also, just for the fact that this is very human, it is actually not specifically so much about gender, even though that is obviously a big part of the human experience. But that your gender is welcome. We aren't having specifically at this touch portal any cis men, and I would really like to create these types of experiences to include cis men, and all genders for sure in the future. But it felt important to be the missing link for the sapphics in this experience, because there are lots of spaces that are dominated by lots of cis men. So when we do say queer femmes, we are strong tomboy energy. It was so funny seeing the core team, even though it was targeted at, female bodies, that, you had your chest taped, and I was also just dressed so tomboyish. It can also just be whatever femme is to you. But we're encouraging definitely non-binary people, definitely trans mass people. Trans guys are also totally welcome. Trans women are totally welcome. It's just cis men this time that are not coming to this event. Although I
Mm,
definitely want to curate spaces for them that they are allowed to come to, and
mm-hmm,
can have this type of intimacy as well, because they also just need it so much. Um,
mm-hmm,
so yeah, I would say just that it is, yeah, it's not so much about not so much about your gender, but whether you actually desire to be
mm.
this type of sapphic.
Yes. Yes, if you want to receive that codex, and, you know, is like the sapphic frequency, or even like as a frequency, as opposed to like as something that you identify with, but is that frequency something that you're curious to step into? I know that like a lot of trans men, especially trans men who transitioned a bit later than life, have lived a large chunk of their lives as lesbians, and sometimes they really get left out of those spaces. But it's like, how can we connect to that frequency but actually invite gender diverse people into that? And so the question is not, am I allowed to come to this party? But do you want to come to this party? Like, if you are not a cis man and you are queer identifying and you hold a curiosity to come to this party, then that is your key to come. We're not standing at the door being like, and what is your gender? And what genital configuration do you have? And are you allowed to come in? No, 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 no. if you are just not a cis man, that is the only requirement. And in that, there's an entire universe realm of gender possibilities. If you are curious to experience this sapphic inspired event, then would love to have you. I mean, in the Sydney portal, we had trans women, trans guys, gender diverse people, like femme people, mass people, and it was fucking beautiful. So it's not about whether you are allowed or not allowed, but do you desire to be a part of this frequency? If yes, then come along.
And you know who I really want to also talk to? Like, I also really just want to talk to those people who feel like maybe they're not even queer enough to come into a queer
Mm,
space, and that they, resonate with lots of the queer values and have curiosity. I would say also bi curious people, queer curious people. It's also a space for you.
yep.
I know that a lot of the time those people are kind of in the middle, or the people that feel alternative, but not really quite there yet. I also urge you to give a bit of a fuck yes to the experience.
Mm,
Just to say why not. It's for you.
mm. It's for you.
It's for you, baby. It looks like you're already prepping for the portal with the non-shirt on.
Yes, this will be me.
Yes, I love it.
Amazing. I feel good
I
about
feel
that.
great. I feel great. I mean, I could talk to you forever. I could talk about Tentacle
Forever.
forever, but I feel like we've given, yeah, a very, very succinct download.
That
Um,
was a podcast.
the podcast. I'm gonna end it here so you can say goodbye and
Oh, bye. See you in the portal.
November 9. See you there.